I think it's efficient.
What do you mean?
Like, bottoms will be like, I'm already lubed up. Like, they'll put lube in. They'll put lube in and be like, I'm ready for whatever.
That I feel like that only works though if you're going somewhere just to fuck. Like, not if you're going out to dinner. Like,
the idea is like, hey, let's hook up. When you come over, it's game time. Sight on scene. The moment we open that door, I am ready. Like, no need to be like, oh, where's the lube? It's already in me. It's already ready.
And then the top comes in already with the condom on. Like, just already there.
Hey, some people don't use condoms, so they could just be ready.
Listen, if it's a person you don't know and you don't know if they've been tested, it's generally safe to use.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just saying.
Of course. I would suggest use a condom, be on prep if your body, lets you be on prep. There's alternatives as well if your body doesn't react to prep well. But some people I know do be wildin' and they just have, raw bareback sex.
Right.
If that's their thing, that's their thing. I'm not going to judge them for it, all right? I'm not going to judge the bottom who pre-lubes.
And I'm not going to judge the top who puts a pre-condom on.
No, of course not. Of course not. I'm not judging anyone. I'm just here to give the facts without any, bias as best as I can.
Okay, I did start recording.
Welcome to What the Gays Think podcast, season 2, episode 1. We made it. We made it. We did. I'm one half of this podcast sandwich. I'm just the bread. I'm the pale bread. The pale toast.
Oh, BB.
The stale bread
the stale bread.
Toast. Patrick, but I'm joined by my filling. The peanut butter to my white bread, the cream cheese to my bagel, the cream to my Oreo.
I thought you were going to say cream to my crop, which I would have been fine with too.
To my Twinkie, Matthew. Speaking of twink, hello, how are you, man?
You just call me a Twinkie.
How are you?
I am always filled with cream, if that's what you're getting at. I am doing so great, Pat. How are you? This is season 2. We're in season 2 of the podcast.
Always filled with cream.
This is a good way to get started on our second season.
Yeah, because it's basically the same way we ended our first season.
No, it's gonna be slightly different. Okay, listen. Let me explain to our podcast listeners how this season 2 is gonna be different from season 1. So season 1, we had a lot of really specific topic-based episodes where we talked about one thing for the entire length of the podcast episode. For season 2, I think we're gonna take a little bit of a shift. Instead of doing one topic per episode, which sometimes we will do one topic per episode. It depends on what we're talking about. There may be a topic that we're really passionate about that we will just talk for however long on. But I feel like typically we're going to go to this new format where we have a couple of smaller topics that we just kind of discuss as we move through the podcast. And then at the end of each podcast, we'll have a little special treat before we sign off, which when we get there for this podcast episode, I will introduce it. So yeah, basically a very, similar format to what we were doing previously, but with a slight alteration.
Yeah, you won't notice the difference probably. It's already been pre-lubed for you, so you're not going to feel any friction. You're not going to have any traction. You're just going to go in, condom on, condom off, whatever you feel like. I'm not here to judge.
There's always a little bit of friction when you first,
It depends who you're messing with. Some of these bottoms know exactly what they're doing.
Really? It just kind of goes right in?
Well, I forgot that not to tell your story, but I've been with many people.
Right.
Comparatively to you.
Yeah.
So I've been around the block, and then I went around the other block, and then I went to the town over, crossed state lines, and then stamped my passport at the airport and flew to the country. So I know a lot. Some people call me a whore, and some people might be right. So rats, mice.
Okay, mice, rats. What's the difference? What actually is the difference? Because I don't know.
I think size. I think a mouse is smaller than a rat.
Okay, so a mouse is smaller
than a rat. I think.
What's its diameter? What's its circumference?
4.5 inches. Diameter.
Diameter.
Pretty big.
It
rat.
could be.
I haven't had a rat problem. Although it's not a problem because I think the rat's gone. I had
Okay.
seen a mouse because it's small. I'm assuming it's a mouse. Um, in my house, and I was like, "What the fuck?"
Mouse in a house?
So we put down some traps. They didn't catch it, but as I was packing up, and if you're watching the YouTube video, you can see there are some boxes behind me. We're
Mm-hmm.
moving. Um, and I'm hoping the rat gets in the box and I could bring it to the new place and
You can bring it.
So I was cleaning and I was packing up stuff. And also I have these cube shelves behind me right there from Target.
Mm.
And they have these really cheap cube boxes that slide in. You could throw some shit in there. I was cleaning those out and then I saw rat poop
On the shelf?
in one of the boxes.
Oh,
I
it was
pulled it
in the
out.
box.
It was my hat one where I put all my hats.
Oh
And there
no.
was shit on the hat. And then I pulled it out
No.
completely, and I saw on the very edge of the box were nibble marks.
Nip. Excuse me.
Nibble, not nipple.
Nip. I heard nipple. I'm
Nibble.
sorry. Nipple marks.
Like it gnawed on it, and then shit on the hat. So I had to throw out the hat.
Oh no.
Then I opened the other three drawers. All of them had shit in it.
All of them?
And I saw that one of the drawers we had kept dog treats in it. And when I pulled out the bag of dog treats, it had been chewed open. Not eaten, just chewed open. Like they tasted it and were like, that's not good.
I thought you were gonna say they shit in there too.
They did!
No!
Every box had shit in it! Little
Even the
tiny
dog
rat
food.
turds. Yes! Even the one with the dog treats in it. So
No!
at least now I know where it was going. Cause like I was like, they must have been living in here. It's like it's a cheap box, but it's not plastic. It's like a knitted, like has like a little bit of knitting on it. So it's like probably retains heat well.
Right.
There's a lot of like dog treats there. They probably eat it and be fine. I don't know what
They made it their own little living quarters. Aww.
And I threw out all four boxes because I was like, this is cursed now with rat shit.
Okay, but like you're leaving, right? So the rat becomes like, whoever moves in problem. Like you don't have to worry about it anymore.
Yeah, but we really shouldn't be saying that. So that's why we put down traps, and we didn't get it, but I think it's gone because I haven't seen any new droppings.
Right.
There's no food out anymore. I threw out the dog food. Like I haven't seen it in well over a month now. So
Have
like
you
I'm
checked any
assuming,
other boxes?
well, now that we're packing, I'm looking through shit and I haven't seen anything.
Okay, all right. Maybe
So
maybe it just left. It was like I'm done.
maybe or it crawled up somewhere and died, hopefully, because I don't want to see it anymore.
It was just like I don't want to be in this gay house anymore. Fuck these fags.
Speaking of gay,
Oh,
hold on. Distract the viewer while I
where are you
grab
going? Oh my god, this is the middle of our podcast, and Pat is
I'm
walking
back.
away from his
I don't need to
microphone.
distract the viewer much longer. So I went to the gay section of Barnes & Noble today.
Okay. What'd you
Because,
get?
I like to buy gay books.
Oh, I love buying gay books. It's my favorite thing
All
to
right.
do, and then not read them.
Queer, oh! Actually, same. Okay, so first things first, they did that really cute thing where they have like a book wrapped in brown paper, and it's a blind date with the book, and they just put a descriptor of it.
Yeah, yeah.
One of them said LGBTQ plus on it. I was like, oh! And then I picked, so the first book was the date one, Love After the End, an anthology of two-spirit and indigiqueer speculative fiction. Indigiqueer being a contraction? Well, it's a combination. There's no
Combination.
apostrophe. Of indigenous and queer for indigenous people and queer people.
Right.
Two-spirit is a indigenous word, indigenous phrase for a type of queer person within the indigenous community. So basically, it's a collection of, I guess, short stories or narratives by indigenous people about anything, really. A lot of it's sci-fi related, but basically the guy said, I believe it's a guy, his name is Joshua Whitehead, or this queer person, Joshua Whitehead. Right. I don't know. I actually don't know their pronouns because they didn't say. So I'm just going to use they, them for now. They, in their little intro, said that, they're putting this together and these people wrote for a sort of utopian future for indigenous queer people
Oh.
because the present we're already living in a post-apocalyptic present, given,
Right.
The indigenous people's
For
history.
indigenous culture, yeah.
Yeah. Read a U.S. history book and you'll know why. And
No, actually,
then,
don't read a U.S. history book
oh, I'm
because it'll
sorry,
be
no, don't.
whitewashed.
No, no, don't read it. Read an indigenous person's or indigenous group's recounting of the United States history, and
There you
then you'll
go.
have an idea. And with that, plus the COVID pandemic, they wanted to write and put all of these short stories or anthology series together to showcase emerging two-spirit and queer indigenous writers from across Turtle Island, which is, what they call, I believe, America, Turtle Island.
Oh.
Um, I believe that's what they call it. They're just saying that, and I'm like, okay, that must be it. So I just started this. This is lit, and the one I actually got from the actual, as I called it to my sibling, fag section,
Oh.
um, was Felix Ever After by Case and Callender, National Book Award winner. Um, and let's see. I want to give like a brief thing. Basically, it's about a trans black queer man, I believe, trans man.
Right.
And it's about him wanting to experience love. So, it seems like it's a very like teenager or like young adult, just sort of like romance novel.
Hmm.
But what he didn't count on, colon, his catfish scenario landing him in a quasi love triangle.
Oh.
Oh.
Scandalous.
I also love this art. People on YouTube can see it.
Ah.
Um, I love it because I just love anything flower crown. I love,
Hmm. Glow
but
stick crown.
that's close to crown. But I also love he's obviously trans, and you can actually see the scarring on his chest. I assume that's a scarring from top surgery, and I think that even though it's depicted as a graphic drawn, it's important because there is a large stigma, and I'm not in the trans community, so I'm not speaking on it as someone who's experienced it, but I've heard from people within the trans community and the non-binary community who have had top surgery or want top surgery. There is a stigma, obviously, against just the scarring of it because,
Right.
a lot of people see scars as unattractive, but of course, then there's counter stigma against people who don't get it because it's like, why don't you get your boobs lopped off? It's a large topic, but I'm excited for this.
Which is kind of annoying generally. Like, why would you? I hate that there's a stigma generally against body, like, I guess you could say amorphisms. I don't really know what the word is. Abnormal bodies, I guess you could say.
Well, I wouldn't call it abnormal. That sounds a little. I wouldn't say body modification either because, well, it is body modifications just sound so clinical. Like it
Well, I'm
ranges
also
from.
talking like scars too, just like
Oh
generally
well,
from
yeah,
other. It could not be from top surgery. It could be from other things. Like generally speaking, anything else like burn marks are very stigmatized too. Like I just think that
right.
sucks about that.
Like anything from like the most benign, which could just be a tattoo, all the way to the extreme as like burn, scarring or some sort of surgical scarring or just like you got shot 8 times. I don't know,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah, it's not good, and I'm not going to speak on that because I don't experience it and I really don't understand the ins and outs of it myself. But I do say I picked up the book. It looks neat. I love the representation, and I'm really invested in this indigenous book particularly because I read the forward and I was like, this sounds because it's such a good thing to get not only more queer perspectives through two-spirited people, but also the indigenous kind of perspective as well because that's something we lack in society.
We lack a lot of, I guess you could say, exposure to a lot of different cultures.
Oh, so many.
So many. You know what we are exposed to a lot though?
What?
Christianity, whiteness. You know, and I
Yeah.
hate it.
I
Anyway,
mean,
so there's this like trope where, if you're a gay man, usually,
mm, mm.
or if you're a gay person who is assigned male at birth, when you grow up and you're in like elementary school, all your friends are girls, right? There's like that trope.
That is the trope, yeah.
Yeah. So for me, that the trope was real. Like when I was growing up, all of my elementary school friends were in fact
Mm.
girls.
Such a ladies'
Oh
man.
my goodness. Was
Uh,
that true for you?
no,
No, you had some male friends?
I had the exact opposite. I had almost no female friends and mostly male friends.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Well, for me, I had all female friends.
Okay.
And I I don't know what it was, but like my parents did not like that. Sorry if you're listening to the podcast. Mostly my mom. If you're listening to the podcast, my
Okay, but
mom did not like that.
what was the reason?
She just thought that I needed to make also boyfriends. Not like,
And you
not like,
did, and you did.
not like wink wink boyfriends, but like, male friends. And she kept saying like, you have to make male friends, and I don't know what it was that she didn't like about it, but she was like, you have to make guy friends. You can't have only girlfriends. And I was like, okay. So I basically stopped telling my mom that all of my friends were girls, and I lied, saying that oh
Right.
yeah, I have guy friends, and then I have to lie to my parents to be like, oh, but they don't ever want to hang out, or like they're busy or something, like that's why they can't hang out with me at home. And
Right.
then like in elementary school, when my actual friends wanted to hang out with me, they would be like, oh, well, let's go hang out at your house. I'd be like, no, you can't come to my house, like, and
No,
I'd lie to
no.
them and be like, oh my god. um it was a little traumatizing, a little bit for me.
Whoop.
It was actually like this whole stigma around, oh, guys have to be friends with guys, or girls have to be friends with girls. It's all about gender. Why is there even stigma about like who you can be friends with in elementary school when it comes to gender? That's why I hate
Well,
gender so much.
I have two things. First, do you think it's because your mom knew that trope existed? Because that trope isn't new. Like, even my mom said when she was in high school, there was a guy she knew that, she said everyone knew he was gay, and he had a lot of female friends.
Right.
And when he came out, the female friends were like, no, duh.
No, duh. Right.
So
Yeah.
I think that trope has existed for a while because I think, gay men, either consciously or subconsciously, may feel safer in a group of women, and they might feel
Hmm.
more camaraderie with women because they also, in general, if they're heterosexual, will sexualize men
Hmm.
and be vibing with men. So do you think your mom knew, or just like wanted to like almost like butch you up a little bit? Like, yeah,
Butch
play
me.
with the boy. No, like seriously, like, play with the boys, like get rugged, or like play in the, I don't know, like play in the dirt.
Yeah, I don't know if my mom was playing off of the fact that she knew like, oh, this is a weird thing, or like it had anything to do with my sexuality at all. I think it was just like, this is abnormal because you're a guy, you should be friends with other guys. I think that's more along the lines of what it was. But I did not vibe with the elementary school males, if you know what I mean, or at least most of them.
No, I do. I mean, it depends who you hang out with, but because when we're young, even in elementary school, into middle school, into high school, there are some guys, at least in my experience, that fell into very stereotypical male behavior that I didn't like.
Hmm.
Um, and I brutish behavior, very domineering behavior,
Alpha
which I
male.
alpha, yeah, when their balls haven't even dropped yet in elementary school, and they're all testosterone filled. So, no, I can understand it. For me, it was I didn't have a lot of friends, at least in elementary school. I only had like I had a few like good, like three really good friends. They were all male.
Right.
The other ones kind of like were men, and maybe a few men, as if we're all babies basically back
But
then. But yeah, it was mostly male. Yeah. Oh, wait. The other thing I want to ask you is, isn't it so weird that like there are these things as queer people, like you lying to your mom about the gender of your friends, like these sort of
yeah.
like micro lies or like micro adjustments that we have to do. In some cases, they're not even micro. Some cases they're macro. Like
Yeah.
just to feel comfortable
No, I
with
agree
what you're
with you.
doing.
I
Isn't that like there's so many of them?
I don't even know if I would call it a micro lie. This for me in elementary school was a big thing. Like the fact that
Right.
I could
Yes.
not hang out with my friends after school, like in my house, and the fact that I had to basically push my female friends away and try to force myself into a male friend group, which I actually eventually did around fifth grade. I like forced myself into like the male friends, so that I could be like, oh my god, I made male friends. Yes, yes,
Matt in fifth
make
grade
your
forcing
jokes.
himself into male friends in fifth grade.
No, no, we're not going to talk about children fucking.
No, we're not. But I understand completely.
And
So
it just sucks. It sucks.
yeah, it's based on gender because like it's obviously like you're hanging out with too much of group A, hang out with group B. Because group A has certain qualities that are not found in group B, but we want you to have those other qualities, so hang out with the other group.
It's like forcing you to be gender conformant or to conform to what society wants you to be.
Yeah, like if
And
you have
I
all
hate
female
it.
friends, paint your nails.
God's plan.
God's plan.
God's plan. That's all I had to say on that.
Okay, I thought you were going deeper on gender, and I was like, here we
I
go.
wasn't going deeper on it.
You know what I will go so deep on though?
Oh no. A
Scream.
man's ass. Oh.
Well, he will scream.
Scream,
If you
yeah.
Scream is a little bit of an anomaly in the horror genre.
Hmm.
Because on one hand, it's 5 films long now with the new Scream. So it's
Right.
one of those long-running horror genre films. It's not as long as like Halloween or Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street, but it's getting up there. It's an anomaly because one, it's one of those long-running ones, but it's still consistently pretty good,
And the
in
other
my
ones aren't.
opinion. The other ones aren't. Like there are some that are good, obviously. Like the first Friday the 13th, I think is a great movie. The first
Right.
Nightmare on Elm Street, and I think the second Nightmare on Elm Street, great movies. The first Halloween, um, I kind of liked Halloween 4, I think, and then the new Halloween films I like.
Yeah, the new ones are fun. I like the new one.
Yeah, but Scream has been kind of consistently good. And the other thing is, the Scream films are all about being meta about horror films, specifically slasher films and the horror genre. So Scream 1 back in 96 was a horror slasher film about the horror slasher genre. So the
Okay.
characters openly spoke about horror films and the tropes you find within them. You know,
Hmm.
a band of high school students don't have sex in the film because you'll die. Don't ever say I'll be right back because you'll die.
Hmm.
The idea of like a final girl or like the girl that survives to the end. And then Scream 2 is about sequels and how horror film sequels always have to up the ante and
Hmm.
it'll have to do the killer will have to do something with like like it'll always be like either like more gruesome kills or more than one killer. And then Scream 3 was about trilogies and horror films and finality of it. Scream 4, which came out in 2011, I think, was all about reboot culture for
Hmm.
especially for reboot of horror films. And this most recent one in 2022 is all about the two things really. And this is not a spoiler because I this is a good movie. I think people should see it. One, it's about requel culture, which I can explain a little bit more about that in a second, and
Yeah, you may
also
need to.
about toxic fandom culture.
Oh boy, here we go. Here we
So
go.
re-
Cancel culture.
so requels, which they describe in the film, basically are like Halloween and Halloween Kills. These films that are sequels to older films in the franchise, but that ignore certain films in the middle,
Mm.
basically newer films that build off of something that happened in a previous film, brings back a legacy character or two, has a whole new set of characters. One person in the film even describes Star Wars as being that way because if you think
Oh.
about it, the new Star Wars sequel trilogy has legacy characters but brings in new characters, builds on what was set before. So
Right.
requels are basically just, you know,
Fancy reboots.
better reboots to appease the fandoms because you can't just make like a sequel cash grab because the fandom will jump on you and be like this was garbage, this was just
Right,
for
right.
for cash, and you can't change the formula too much because then the fan will be like no, this isn't like our original films, this is piss poor horror whatever. So it's about how like this film, this 2022 Scream, is sort of even naming itself Scream like the first one, sort of like the first in a new series possibly, but also dealing with older characters and like original plot points that get picked up in this film.
Right.
So
That does
it
sound
was
very
there.
meta.
The whole series is meta, and that's why I think it that's why I kind of like it not being like a fucking sequel every year, every other year,
Hmm.
because the first 3 dealt with like horror film sequels trilogies, then it took like a decade break. Then it dealt with reboots, which we had a ton of reboots at the time, so it made sense for it to comment on it and commented on it pretty well. And now, a decade later, this idea of going back to source material and building on it in a new way
Hmm.
is true. And then it includes this toxic fandom approach where you can never appease the fandom, and there are certain members of fandom that like just don't want anything to happen to their original source material, and they hate everything new, sort
Oh
of
my
like
god. You
the
know what this
Last
remind
Jedi.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say something else. But you know what this reminds me of? The Last
What?
Airbender, which is what I thought you were gonna say, and the Legend of Korra,
Yes. Yes.
where there has been a lot of discourse about like mostly because what you were saying is like they don't want you to touch the original cast, right? I've seen a lot of discourse about like people maybe speculating that Toph could be bi, and then the original like people who are obviously not part of the LGBT community or are like really into the original Last Airbender being like, no, Toph's not bi. Toph is obviously straight. Stop trying to change the characters. And I was like, Jesus.
Okay, like literally, like yeah, toxic fandom and people feeling that even though they're not the creators of the content, feeling like they own the content is
Yeah,
bad. Like you can't only the creator can say what is canon or not canon within their own work. And even then, you can speculate about a certain thing, component, character, plotline, whatever. Mark Hamill said it himself the best. Mark Hamill was asked about, receiving letters or something from people. He plays Luke Skywalker in Star Wars.
oh yeah,
And he's
I'm
like,
aware.
I was asked, well, sometimes you don't know things. He
I'm
was
aware. I'm aware that
basically
Mark Hamill plays Luke Skywalker.
he's basically saying like at one point he was asked by a kid like, hey, like, is it okay if like, or is Luke gay, or is it okay if I see him as gay? He's like, of course it is. He's like, if you think Luke is gay, he's gay. If you think Luke is straight, he's straight. If you think Luke is whatever, like he's whatever you want him to be, because Mark Hamill doesn't own the character. No one does. You own the character because you're the person like, eating the content. You're the person who's
Eating.
seeing yourself or seeing something in this character that you love and you vibe with, and you get to do whatever you want with the character. It's up for your interpretation.
Wish I could eat Mark Hamill.
Okay, so Scream, everyone should see it. It's lovely. It's actually kind of because my list. If you all on the Twitter, if you're on the Twitter at WDTGT podcast, my Scream order of operations was 1, 4, 2, and 3.
Not multiplication, division, addition,
No,
subtraction.
no. Scream 1, 2, no, 1, 4, 2, and 3, and I've watched 3 again, and you know what? It's not as bad as I thought it was. It's not the
All right.
best in the series. It is still the worst in the series, but that doesn't mean it's bad. It's actually pretty good.
Can I talk about something now that I brought up the order of operations real quick?
Go for it. No,
Unless
go
you had
for
more to
it.
say on Scream.
No, I was just gonna say that Scream 5, 2022 Scream, is I think my second or first favorite now.
Right. That's good. But order of operations,
Tell
PEMDAS.
me. Tell me.
I was watching TikToks, and you know what? I kind of already knew this, but like the order of operations is just bogus. It's complete bogus. It's complete bullshit. You know that?
No. What? What do you mean?
So when you get to advanced math, you're no longer writing with like you do write with plus and minus, but you don't really write with like the multiplication x or the division like whatever the fuck it's called. I don't even know what
Dot
this
line dot
dot
some
line
Morse
dot.
code.
Yeah, you don't really write with those symbols anymore. So when you're specifying multiplication, it's usually you place two things adjacent to each other with like
Yeah.
parentheses or something. And when you're writing division, it's usually a fraction. So
Yeah.
most of the time, it's implied which one you need to do first. Is it the top of the fraction or the bottom of the fraction? If two things are next to each other, you usually do that first. Order of operations really doesn't matter anymore. It's about the way that you write the equation. And if you want to do the addition first, you put parentheses around it. You specify that. Like,
Yeah.
PEMDAS doesn't, like, it's just a way for children to learn math easier so that they know what to do. When you get to higher level math, PEMDAS doesn't really exist, is what I'm trying to
Well,
say.
yeah. Yes. Yes. Also, speaking about math and teaching kids how to do math, I saw my younger brother's math homework. Honey,
Is it different? Is it different?
like the way they force these kids to show their work.
Oh,
Like my younger brother is apparently really good at math, mental math.
okay.
Like he
Yeah.
got his multiplication tables down really quick. So when he's doing his little work, he just, he does some like writing and he writes the answer. They're like, no, 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 you have to do this, you either have to like show the breakdown of the tree or like the Y thing where it's like, it's 6 and you break it down to 2 times 3.
My
It's
God.
that bullshit. And they're like, you have to show the work. And I'm like, he didn't listen to me because he was doing his own thing. I was like, Alex, just wait until you're in high school. None of this fucking matters.
No.
Middle school,
pull
even
out the
middle school.
calculator.
None of this matters. None of it matters. Democrats. I don't know why they teach you like this. It's dumb. None of it. Like I understand if they want to teach it like that, but once a kid knows, like forcing the kid to like write it out in this sort of roundabout, archaic way, like
Ooh,
just pull out an abacus at that point and make them
an
move the
abacus.
beads. God,
Anyway, I'm switching topics now. Um,
go for it.
and I'm. This is the political part, the political section. If you don't like politics, skip this part. Go 5 minutes
Okay.
ahead. Um, the filibuster. They wanted to. The Democrats recently wanted to change the rules of the filibuster so that they can vote on voting rights.
Yeah.
But guess who our two favorite people are? Crystal Cinnamon and
Mm.
Joe Machinima. I don't know what we called him.
Machinima, McMansions, yeah, there's a lot
McMansions,
of
McDonald's, whatever.
yeah.
The two of them said that they don't support it and they will not vote to change the filibuster so that we can vote, so that the Senate can vote on voting rights, which has basically killed any chances that they could have any type of voting reform bill pass the Senate.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
oh, were you gonna say something?
Well, I had read the filibuster has been actually changed before. Is that true?
It has many times in the past. Yes, actually, before when Trump was in office, they changed the filibuster so that they can confirm Supreme Court justices with only without a filibuster, and that's how they got Brett Kavanaugh and Amy Coney Barrett in.
Um, so can you filibuster a change to the filibuster? That would be funny. That'd be a hat and a hat.
I don't think you can. Can you filibuster a change to the filibuster? No.
Okay, well, I just listen. I'm not surprised by this whole Kirsten Cinema slash Joe Manchin nonsense. This has been the rhetoric since day one. I'm just tired of. I saw this on TikTok, which very someone eloquently put together my feelings in word form, and I love that. The Democrats said, "You get us in office, we're gonna do it," and they
We got
have
to do
all
it.
three. They have all three branches of the government.
Well, yeah,
Well, they have all three components of the legislative.
yeah, they have a legislative trifecta. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, that's what I mean. Sure, and executive power, whatever.
yeah, yeah.
Presidency, House, Senate, with the split, and Kamala obviously would vote for. They have it. Can't do anything. And
Yep.
now I see all these ads, just like I saw last election cycle, of we have to get Democrats in there, or the Republicans are going to take over, and it's going to be democracy is going to die, dead on arrival. And I'm
Dead.
like, is it? It's already dead. Like the Democrats won, quote unquote, and democracy still dead.
Yeah, and well, Republicans are making it worse, but
I know,
even
and they're
if
not even in power, quote unquote, and Republicans on a state level are still making things worse for us.
yes, they are, and even if like I said this in my prediction episode, I believe that if Democrats don't pass any major legislation, which they're probably not going to at this point, um, they're going to lose the House and the Senate. And if they do, it doesn't even matter because the House and the Senate, no matter what they do, Joe Biden's not going to sign it. Joe Biden's going to veto everything. So Congress is going to halt. Nothing's going to get done. Like literally
Yeah,
nothing. So I'm
like
just
right
like, what's
now.
the point? I mean, yeah, it's no change basically.
Like it's hard to, because we don't want to we don't want to disengage voters. We don't want them to feel apathetic. We don't want them to feel like nothing they do or their vote no longer matters because nothing works. But that's the whole thing Democrats are running on. They're like, make your vote matter. If you vote us in, it will matter. We can get things done. And then we did. I mean, I
And it
wish we had
didn't.
done more, but
Yeah.
we got them the bare minimum of what they needed to do things. We got them the House, which was good, but we got them the bare minimum in the Senate to actually do things. And obviously, Joe Biden would sign it if all the Democrats could just agree on it, but we can't even do that. Like, it's so fucking frustrating because now I'm like, I know my incentive. My incentive should be, don't let the Republicans win, don't let them take away even more rights, blah, 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 blah. But like, what's my incentive for progressive change? Nothing.
Yeah, and
Nothing progressive is happening.
that's why I had this question on here about this topic. How do we feel generally about the Democratic Party?
Awful. I feel awful about it. You know what? I'll see Andrew Yang posting about his forward party And I kind of laughed myself a little bit because I'm like, gang, no one is doing it.
No one's about it.
Like, no, it's not his fault. Like, I think he's a somewhat compelling politician. I think he's kind of a cool guy, but I'm like, whatever, Adrian, that's ridiculous. But then I'm like, well, what the fuck's the alternative? Want my Democrats again, who we got into office and couldn't just agree on something? Like, I don't feel good. Obviously, I don't want the Republicans to like have their way because they're even worse. But then again, like, you should watch Don't
Yes.
Look Up because this is Don't Look Up.
Oh, is this part of? I've been seeing things about Don't Look Up. Is this part of the like theme? I guess.
It's like the end is near and we can't, no one can just come to terms on anything and actually do what needs to be done, even though everyone knows what needs to be done. Like, I think the general consensus of our society in this country, at least, is we know, people should have abortions. We know we should like feed the poor and house them, and we should have cheaper healthcare through higher taxes on the rich, and more taxes going to socialized medicine. We know all these things work, just no one wants to do them.
Yeah, because the half of Americans were, I don't want to say brainwashed. They they have been convinced otherwise, that these things are not needed and that we don't need these things. And then
Yeah.
it's it's a fucked state to be in, I would say, or a fucked country to be in.
Yeah, like, I mean, I saw that news about the huge tsunami that could have ruined like the or like really been damaging to the West Coast recently because of the volcanic eruption.
Oh,
And you
I
and you
didn't even hear
hear,
about this.
yeah, there was a volcanic eruption off the West Coast and it generated a tsunami, but I don't think it's actually going to make landfall anymore. Um, or it might. I don't know. I'm not up to date on that news. It's the West Coast. I'm over here. But then
What?
there's of course that huge piece of ice from the Arctic that like is going to break off and melt, and we're going to have sea level rises. And no one's doing anything about climate change. And in a few years, it's going to be too late. And it's like we're starting off season two on such a depressing
Such a
note. But like,
depressing note.
guys, the earth is like falling apart, and all we're doing is like fucking jacking off in the Senate. Like, oh my God, like, look at my dick. It's bigger than your
Oh
dick.
my
And Mitch
god.
McConnell's like, look at my dick. And Joe Manchin's like, look at my dick. And Crystal Simmons, look at my dick. Like, everyone's doing their dick waving.
I'm picturing this in my head right now. All of
It's
these politicians.
old white men with saggy balls, big
Yep.
wrinkly
And Kirsten
dicks.
Cinema too, whipping out her dick and trying
I
to
think
flaunt it with
all
the others.
politicians, no matter what their gender expression, no matter what their sex, they all just gain a dick when they be a politician, just so they can like prick wave and,
Oh yeah,
and dick
flaunt it
measure,
around.
pissing contests. Like, I think that's just all politics is now. It's all pissing contests.
You know what? I speaking of climate change too, because I saw something today. Virginia just swore in their new governor. Um,
Okay.
and they like the governor, the new Republican governor, like immediately, like pulled Virginia out of some coalition of climate change, which basically like agreed that they would try to reduce their carbon emissions. And I was like, good. See, this is where we're going. This is what happens when you elect Republicans. And then when you elect Democrats, they also don't want to do anything. So like, what's the point? What's the point?
You know, we don't want to be defeatists here. We don't want to be, like I said, apathetic. We want to be light and lovely and fun.
Oh yeah,
But
we
sometimes you got to get in the shit.
sometimes you do. But let's move on. Let's move on. Did you have any other topics you want to talk about?
Let me think. I'm moving soon, and like packing is just so hard. Like I don't own this house, but like when you own a house, and you realize how much like shit you just accumulate over time,
Oh my god.
things you just put away. Because like when I moved from my mom and stepdad's house to my apartment, and then here, like I brought my shit from the house, like all my shit basically.
Right. You
So that's a lot of shit, and I've had to, yeah, I know, right? It's all like all old and dry,
What? You
crumbly
brought all
shit.
of it. You were storing it.
I was storing it for a rainy day. Uh, but it tickled when it came out. So I've just like been slowly like weaning down on the amount of stuff I have just because I own so much stuff.
Mm,
And even then I packed like 8 boxes yesterday of my stuff. And like that's just my personal.
right. Then when you get
Like
to the
it's a
kitchen, it's like, oh,
a lot of comic books, a lot of books, a lot of DVDs or games or like some board games. I'm like, fuck me. Like, I don't want to do this for I better live in this new place for like a decade because I want to do this again.
I felt that when I was moving from my apartment to the house. I was like, where
Yeah.
did I get all this shit from? And where was I putting it? Like, the apartment that I had was not that big. Like, how do I have so much shit?
Me on the toilet after drinking Metamucil.
Me after drinking coffee. How do I have so much?
Just keeps coming out of me and it's not tickling anymore. It just burns.
Like I said, if you need my help, I will gladly help you in moving things.
You know what I need your help with? When I have my
Kidding?
housewarming. No. When I have my housewarming,
Yeah.
just if you want to get me a housewarming gift, just get me like liquor.
Okay. Sure. I can
Because
do
we have
that.
like we have like no liquor because we're not a big drinking family. We're more of a you want to get high?
You want to get high?
Yeah, get high. I'm
Get a
not
towel.
condoning. Not con- Towel. I'm not condoning the use of any drugs. Usually just marijuana, honestly, nothing else. But anyway, yeah, for my homecoming. Oh,
Homecoming.
housewarming.
Take me to homecoming. Oh my god.
Okay, I'll leave a note in your locker.
Ew.
Yeah, just some liquor would be fine, and
You
that's
go to
it.
prom with me.
No. Oh my god, remember prom? Remember prom?
I do remember prom. I don't like remembering it. Anyway,
Oh, me neither, honestly. I didn't have time.
gays remembering prom.
And I actually went with like my boyfriend at the time, which you think would have been this like big magical moment, but it wasn't.
Ooh, ooh.
All right, I'll tell you why though. Here's why.
Oh god, what happened?
I would. Okay, it's not like he listens to this podcast anyway.
Imagine he does.
Oh my god. I didn't want to spend time with him.
Ooh.
I wanted to hang out with you guys more.
Oh, how sweet.
I wanted to hang out with you, John, Trevor, and Anthony more because you guys were more fun. And he was just there. And I felt like I had to give my attention to him too because I was like, it's prom. He wants to be here with me. But I was like, I really just wanted to go stag with my boys.
Oh, how sweet. And it's because you secretly had a crush on me as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. Anyway, I think.
Oh god,
I
the
think...
COVID's coming back. No. No, I don't have COVID. Oh boy. Anyway, so let's wrap up this episode now with our surprise end segment. Which I don't know what to call this. I honestly don't. So for now I'm just gonna call it scenarios.
Would you, could you, should you?
Okay, would you, could you, should you? That's what we're gonna call it. Fine.
Yeah.
I agree to this name.
Well, that was on the spot too.
All right. And basically in this segment here, we're just probably going to go back and forth, probably just one each person. We're just going to go back and forth. We're going to present each other with some fake scenarios from a different dimension. And basically just say like, would you, could you, should you about those scenarios.
Yeah, we're very much inspired by Marvel's What If, a show that Matt still hasn't watched.
Yes, I absolutely am inspired by Marvel's What If that I have not watched.
Jesus Christ.
So which one of us should go first?
Do you have one?
I'll go first. Yeah, I have one.
Okay, yeah, let me know.
All right.
Lay it on me.
And also, I just want to preface where we came up with this. We were
yes,
on the
please.
car ride back from PAX. Yeah, we were on the car ride back from MagFest, and it's a 3-hour drive. So at some point, I don't know what happened. At some point, me and Pat just kept saying like, "Oh, like if you were dating Lil Nas X, like, and he did this weird thing, would you still stay with him?"
Yes. And it like for what, an hour and a half, 2 hours, just did that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know where it came from. I think the first thing you said was like, I think I said this. I was like, so if you're dating Lil Nas X, but every time you guys have sex, he just shits on your chest, would you say?
Oh, that is, yes. Yes.
I don't know where that came from.
And I was like, no, wait. Wait, did I say yes to that?
No, you said no. You said no.
Okay,
You said
good.
you wouldn't do it.
Because now I'm thinking about it, I'm like,
Maybe.
maybe. Anyway, what's your new scenario?
Okay, here's my new scenario for you. This is not one that we did before. All right,
Okay.
and I'm gonna start off with the Little Nas X one because we both love Little
Please.
Nas X.
Please.
But we could do anything in terms of these scenarios. So you're dating Little Nas X, right?
Hmm.
Um, it's going well, but you've never been to his house before. You've been dating for a couple months, but he won't let you in his house. And
Okay.
eventually you're like, "Hey babe, I haven't seen your house yet. We always go to my house. I always host. Why don't you ever host?"
Okay. Okay.
And he goes, "Oh, I just haven't thought about it." But so eventually you convince him to go to his house for the night. Very
Yeah.
nice house, probably, or an apartment, whatever he has. He probably has a really nice apartment or house somewhere.
Yeah, like a big house probably in California somewhere.
Yeah, it's probably real nice because he's got all the money from being, gay and a pop star.
Yay, giving money, I wish.
You go to his house. He takes you up to the bedroom. You go
Uh,
into the bedroom, you turn on the lights, and on every single wall and on the bed, there's just dolls everywhere staring at
oh
you.
God. What kind of dolls are we talking about?
They're like not Barbie dolls, but they're also not like action figures. They're like, also not like scary movie dolls, but like kind of similar to them.
Like Victorian dolls that were like very much like little girls in
Yeah,
dresses.
yeah, yeah. Kind of like those. You know that one episode of SpongeBob where Mr. Krabs has the Dollarama? You remember that? It's
Yes, I
kind of like
do.
those.
So it's wall to wall, ass to mouth dolls.
Yes, on the bed, on the walls, on the shelves, not on the floor, just on the bed and on the walls,
Right,
just
wouldn't want to
all
step on
dolls.
them.
Yeah. Um, and he shows you his collection, and he's like, I'm sorry, babe. I really love dolls.
Hey.
Would you stay with him?
So like this is his bedroom, you said?
Yes.
So like is this where he plans to fuck me?
Yes. Yes.
Well, I'd be like, babe, you don't want to get, stuff, quote unquote, all over your dolls. We should go to another room. Because you know what? It's fine to have a hobby. Like, I
Right.
collect
Right.
stuff. I have comic books. I have Yu-Gi-Oh cards. I have, I don't know, like, John has pops. Like, everyone has a hobby.
Right.
But, like, if he wants to, like, fuck in that room, like, I don't want to get, unless he's into his dolls watching, in which
Ooh.
case that's a whole
He
other
didn't say
component.
that. No, he didn't say
Right, of
that.
course. I'm making that leap.
Yeah.
You know what? I shouldn't shame him for a hobby. So I would ask, like, hey, babe, let's go to another room. And, like, with just a bed and maybe, like, some candles and some rose petals, and then we can hang out.
What if he gets upset though when you say you don't want to fuck in his doll room?
Okay, well, then I have to be like, let's give these dolls a show.
Oh no!
And
So
I would do it.
okay, you do it.
And
Okay.
I'd fuck them.
Oh, would you? Could you? Should it? Should
I
you?
would. Should. I would. Yeah, I would. I
I
would.
would. Okay.
Would you?
Yeah, probably. I'm.
Yeah,
Don't.
I mean, like,
I could live with it. I could live with it.
I think we've had worse scenarios.
Okay,
All
it's your
right.
turn.
The great thing about these is I love the setup is always like so long and like not related to where it's going at all. And I believe for me at least, it's because I don't know where it's going. I'm just waiting to find out just like you. So you're dating little Nas X,
Right, right,
and it's your
obviously.
first date.
Ooh,
And he picks you up in his, I don't know, Rolls Royce, some fancy car. The doors go up on the side. And you're like,
oh.
whoa, I underdressed. And he's like, hey, get in and we're gonna go for a drive. And we're like, nice.
The setups. I can't with the
We
setups.
get in the car, or you get in the car, not we. You get in the car and you're driving on the highway. You're on the cliffs of LA. I don't know California well, but you're on some fucking cliffside, beautiful vista. The sun is like setting and the sky's all orangey. And you just, he's playing his own music, which you think is a little weird because you're like, well,
Well, I mean, he's
vain, but
into
you know
himself.
what?
He's into it.
But you love it, so you obviously listen to it too. You're hearing him sing his own stuff, and you're like, wow, even the live vocals, on point. And you're driving fast, the top's down, the wind is through your hair. For you,
Oh
it's
yeah,
nothing.
nothing just blowing through my
Um,
my like stems or whatever are here.
and he's flooring it.
Oh no.
and he's going so
Oh
fast,
no.
and
Where is this going?
you're like, whoa, whoa, Nas, like maybe slow it down a little bit. And he's like, no, 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 I gotta, like, I feel the most alive when I'm so close to death.
What? What?
And he's like, don't worry, I do this all the time. You're not gonna die. And you're like, are you sure? We're really close to falling off. He's like, no, no, I got it. Don't worry. And he's getting a little aggressive with you now, even though you're showing concern that you could die. And you
Ah,
realize that Nas is a little bit of a thrill seeker.
okay, a little bit.
So you finally get to his place at the end of the night. And you had a great evening after the car ride of death almost. You went to get some food, you came back to his place, it's lovely, and then things get spicy and head up to
Oh
the
my
bedroom.
god. Oh my god.
The bedroom
Watch
is
it
not filled with dolls.
I was gonna say, what if this is completely not related to the thrill seeker thing? It's just something completely different.
I just assume he is. Not filled with dolls, and y'all are getting down and dirty on the bed.
Oh,
It's
we're
getting
in it.
hot and heavy.
We're in it.
Clothes
Okay.
are starting to come off. Sweat. He puts on some, sensual music, candles, whatever.
Right, right.
And he's like, let's take this to the next
Oh
level.
god.
He clicks a button. You don't know where the button
Oh,
was.
no.
You just hear it click. You're like, what's that? And the ceiling just opens up.
Ah!
And there's just knives hanging from the ceiling, held by a suggestion of a wire. Just like the loosest yarn you've ever seen. And he's like, I just want to feel alive. I need to be close to death to feel good. Would you stay with him if you knew every night during y'all's business, knives from the ceiling?
He needed to open up these knives that hang from the ceiling.
Yeah, and they're like held up by almost nothing. He's like, I gotta feel like it might actually
The
happen.
smallest little thread.
Yeah.
I don't think that I would.
But then he's like, babe, don't worry, I'll always be on top. So if they fall, I'll block you with my muscles.
My
You're always underneath him.
I still don't think that I would. I don't think I'd be. Look, I'm not king shaming anybody, but
Right.
I don't think me being so close to death as well. I don't think I would. I wouldn't be into it. So no. Would you? Could you? Should you? I would.
No.
I would not. I would
Listen,
not. Sorry, little Nas. I would not.
I might do it once, but then I wouldn't do it
Okay.
every night.
Okay.
I'd be like,
okay.
I like a, and then if I saw one falling, I would just like move his body, and be like,
Ooh, as a meat shield, you'd use him
and
as a
like
meat shield.
you like feel his back, you just feel all of like the scars of like past knives, and you're like, okay, this is getting somewhere, or it shouldn't go.
Hello. Well, that's it. That's the little.
Thank you for joining us for the first episode of season 2 of the What Do the Gays Think podcast. I almost swallowed my gum. Hello.
Ooh.
This is a podcast, but it also has a YouTube. You can find us there, like, comment, subscribe. You can find us on a podcasting platform, like, comment, subscribe. We come out now on Wednesdays because Matt had to
We
change his
do.
schedule up. I mean, who knows if we'll stick to it. I mean, but we are trying.
We're trying. We are.
You can find us on Twitter at WDTGT Podcast for all of our updates, including when we stream on Twitch at What Do the Gamers Think, GAYMERS. In that Twitter bio, there's our link tree for our Redbubble for merch if you want it. I think that's all.
And also, just to shout this out as well, we do have a Discord server now called.
Oh my god, I forgot.
Oh, it's called Pride Empire. Pride Empire. But anyway, the Discord link is also in our link tree on the Twitter, and B, it's in the description of all of our podcast episodes now. YouTube description, podcast description, etc. If you want to join us in our Discord server, hang out with us and chat with us outside of ours, outside of our streams, outside of these episodes, come and hang out with us. You have a chance to talk to us in that server.
Yes, you do.
Yes. I think that's it. And I am Matt Klubeck.
And I am watching those knives dangle from the ceiling.
Oh,
Patrick.
and thank you everyone for listening to season 1, and welcome to season 2.
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
It tickles when it comes out.
Yes. No!